Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into The Sovereign Path. So this is going to be a part 2 of my about me sort of thing. I've had a lot of people, I have an about me at the very beginning of my channel. I think it was the first video that I released several months ago, but I've had a lot of questions over the last week or so in regard to, am I in physical union with my twin? So all my OG subscribers who have been with me since the beginning, they already know the answer to this. So this video may be a little redundant for you guys, sorry. But for my new subscribers, yes, I am in physical romantic union with my twin flame, to answer all of your questions. Or those inquiries to be specific. I have been on this path for almost 13 years now. I was in the absolute hell dredges of this path for a long time. So when I'm bringing through this information for you guys, I'm not bringing it through from, just sort of jumping on the bandwagon of the twin flame journey. I have lived it, I have been through it, I have in the absolute depths of hell. I have been at one point during the dark night of the soul thinking that I needed to check myself into a treatment center because I just basically couldn't deal. It took me a long time to get through this path because I refused to surrender to any of it. And the thing about this is that it was such an ironic situation because my dad has been awakened since I was born. So I grew up in a family of having this awakening process around me. I grew up with meditation. I grew up with a Buddhist influence and a Hindu influence. I was able to see my Akashic Records from the age of 7. I had absolutely no idea what I was seeing. I just knew that I was seeing other lifetimes that were playing out, and I knew that they weren't in the lifetime that I was experiencing. I've had tons and tons and tons of energetic experiences that have been happening to me since a child, but I didn't really know what any of that stuff was. I've been meditating since I was really young, and a lot of this stuff was being pushed from my dad. I'm a Blu-ray starseed, for those of you who have asked. All of those things, though, I wasn't aware of. They were all in my peripheral, right? All of these things were in my periphery. I never really felt like I fit in. I never really felt like people really understood where I was coming from. But even still, having all of these sort of awarenesses from a young age, when I stepped onto the awakening path, it still knocked my knees out from under me, right? So once I surrendered to the fact that this was happening, which I immediately called my dad, what the hell's happening to me? What's going on with me? And then it was oh, you're going through your awakening, which apparently he always knew was going to happen. Then it was everything just started to click. Everything started clicking. And it was just an aha moment of a lot of the puzzle pieces started to fall into place. And I started to have the awareness of why I had had all of these experiences since I was a young child. That being said, when the twin flame dynamic hit me, it didn't matter how much sort of background or how much, me as a soul had been preparing me to walk through this path. It didn't matter because all of that just sort of fell to the wayside. The dark night of the soul was the lowest point that I could ever imagine being in my life. And it lasted for a year and a half. I was in the absolute throes of hell. It was absolutely horrible, absolutely awful. So the reason that I share all these things is that I just want you guys to know that I've been where you are. And I was probably where you are for a lot longer than some of you have been there, right? Not everybody, because some of us, we just fight like tooth and nail through this thing. I'm an Aries with a Taurus stellium. So I fought this thing and I just tried to like bull my way through it. And even though I had all of these higher awarenesses coming online, all of my gifts were online, I was completely in communication with my masculine's higher self all the time, completely telepathic. You know, I had all my clairsenses come online, like bam, bam, bam. And all of these things were just like showing me, this is the way, this is the way. I was being completely supported in every way. But my ego was so entrenched that I couldn't let myself step back into that receiving energy. You know, I couldn't just like feel back into that. My masculine energy was very much at the forefront of this path. And it was basically bullying its way through, trying to bull its way through. I was trying to fight my way through this whole thing. And so, you know, I get when you guys have comments that you feel really frustrated. A lot of people in the comments feel really frustrated. And you just kind of feel like you're going in circles, and it's, you know, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or, you know, your mind is going nuts and the obsessive thoughts are doing it, or you feel like you're coming into balance and then you get thrown out again and everything's going well with the twin, and then the next thing you know, you're on the floor again crying, and, you know, the PTSD things that come up for a lot of us on this path, you know, and going through every single solitary rabbit hole, trying to figure this thing out. All the courses, all the coaching, all the tarot, all the psychic readings, you know, all the Akashic readings, looking down every single solitary rabbit hole, watching every video possible, reading everything that you can get your hands on, you know, all of these sort of things. Like, I understand where you guys are. And I really want to make that like known. Like, I understand why you guys where you are. This is why I do this work. This is why I've been doing this work for several years. This is a new channel, but I have been doing this work since 2019 on the other channel that I used to have that I don't use anymore because the algorithm fell off because I moved cross country with my twin, and I also lost my dad during that period and just came into yet another wave of, you know, ego death, basically. More layers that had to come off during that process. So I stepped away from that channel and created this one. So I've been doing this work for a long time. This isn't new for me. It's just that this is a new channel. So I guess just to say that in a nutshell, that just gives you guys an overview of where I'm coming from and who I am. I'm in physical union with my twin flame. We live together. We own a house together. My original subscribers have probably seen him walking around in the backyard several times. Now and then he kind of accidentally walks into my videos. And so you guys know, and then, you know, all the little like lawnmower that you hear in the background, or the like, you know, hammering here and there that you hear. He's a woodworker, so sometimes you'll just hear him around the background. So hopefully that sort of helps you guys to kind of understand that I'm not out here just, you know, just talking to talk. Like, this is actually completely experiential, and I've been through every single stage on this path, probably some of them more than once or longer than they basically needed to be or should have been. So, and I've come out the other end. Yes, I'm in inner union, and I've been in inner union for a while. Somebody else asked me to do a video on what inner union feels like after you've actually completely anchored that, and how your life changes once you've come into inner union. So I'll do a video on that as well at some point if you guys are interested. So when I talk a lot about, this is one of the things I wanted to hit on in this video, is that when I talk a lot about how physical romantic union with the twin is not the cake on this path, right? It's not the point on this path. It shouldn't be the focus on this path, and all of these sort of things. I actually am coming from a place of telling you that I am in physical union with the twin, and I'm still going to sit here and tell you that that is not the point of this path. If I had not come into inner union, if I had not come through this whole process and gone through everything that I had needed to go through, I wouldn't be in physical union with my twin, right? This is an awakening process. And once you come into inner union, you do have the choice, right? And I'm speaking from experience of sitting here telling you, once your vibration has risen to that point that you are now vibrating at a oneness, unity, consciousness frequency, from that place, yeah, it is a whole new game changer, because now you're in an abundance field. Now you have tapped into your creator energy. Now you're in a place of saying, I just have freedom and I'm not attached to anything, right? Now you're in that creator state of having not only just the awareness, but it's the embodiment of I'm good. I'm really good, and I'm always good. And whatever shifts happen with the physical aspect of the masculine don't really affect me anymore, because I'm not running those fear-based energies anymore. I'm not running separation consciousness anymore. And this is why I say things, when you come into inner union and you decide to be in physical interaction with the twin, it is a completely different frequency than what you have been experiencing when you were in that activation stage and when you were in running those 3D programs based on fear-based energy, and you had, you know, all the obsessiveness and all the addictiveness and all of those sort of things. None of that stuff comes with you once you anchor into inner union. And so the interaction that you have with your same soul is highly elevated because you are highly elevated, right? And so when I say things like in those the one video that got completely so much hits, and most of you really got it, you know, what happens when you no longer desire the twin? A lot of people really panicked on that video, because people are feeling like, well, what does that mean? What do you mean you don't desire them? It means that you're not moving from the lower vibratory state of fear-based energy, which is where desire and hate and fear and jealousy and envy and all of those things reside. That means now you're vibrating at unconditional love for self, for other, for all. And so now you're back in the frequency of love. Now you're not just seeing love as sort of this paradigm that we see it in the 3D of, you know, real romantic relationship looks like this, and it acts like this, and it breathes like this, and it talks like this. And if it doesn't do all of these things, then something's wrong and I need to fix it, and right? That's how the relationship paradigms run in the 3D. But in the 5D, they don't run on any sort of codependency, right? They don't run on any sort of fear at all, right? The 5D, there's no fear of losing the twin. There's no fear of losing a soulmate. There's no fear of losing a romantic partnership. None of that fear exists. And when that fear no longer exists, this is what I'm talking about. I'm saying that you're in complete and utter freedom. This is where true interaction with the other that is based on the highest vibration of love that we experience in the physical reality exists, right? The thing is that when you don't have all those dependencies and all of those needs and all of those yearns and all of those things that come from fear, then suddenly you have a freedom that is just, it's anchored. Now you're vibrating in sacred sexuality. And I'm going to do a video on that at some point. I'm going to do maybe a series of videos on sacred sexuality so that we can actually understand what this is, right? But these are two very, very different frequencies, the 3D and the 5D, right? Separation and unity. So I think that's it. I think I've talked enough. Hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more insight into me, into what I'm doing, into why I'm doing this. I really am just looking to help people, because it was just hellish for me for a long time, and I didn't have those touchstones. You know, when I first was activated on this path, There wasn't a lot of twin flame information. I didn't even know what twin flames was. I had never heard that term in my entire life when I first stepped onto this path. This thing was completely foreign to me. And I just kind of had to fall on my face a lot and get back up a lot and fall a lot and get back up a lot in order to really start tapping into my higher knowing and trusting my higher knowing and trusting that, you know, the soul that is me, the higher self that is me, that was always communicating with me, had my back, right? And so I really just had to start learning how to walk this path without having a whole lot of external guidance. It was all internal for me. The whole path was within. And so it pushed me to trust my whole inner world. And it pushed me, and that's why I pushed this so hard on this path. This is a you and you game, and it's all coming from within you. But your whole team is within you, always. This is why I keep saying you are your soul, you are your higher self, you are the divine masculine, you are your guidance team. It's you, and all of that can be found within you, and all of it is guiding you all the time. Every single step on this path, you are being guided. So this is why I say reach for that higher knowing, because that higher knowing is what is actually your true compass on this path. So that's enough, guys. I hope you have an awesome day.